What happens when a former working class, industrial, immigrant district becomes so successful that living in it becomes a luxury? Let's take a walk. More on YouTube. This is one of the most pleasant places in Hamburg to sit with a drink and pretend that your life is under control. Brick walls, a cinema, cafés, old industrial charm. Very nice. These halls once produced ship propellers. Today they produce atmosphere. And in the Hamburg district of Ottensen, that change tells you everything. The Zeisehallen began in the late 1800s as factory halls for ship propellers. After the collapse of shipbuilding, the factory went bankrupt in 1979 and stood empty. The early 90s brought the reinvention: cinema, media, theater, shops and a restaurant. That cinema behind me does everything right. Movies for kids in the afternoon, international art house and independent movies in the evening. Ottensen today is one of those Hamburg neighborhoods that explains itself very quickly. Not with one big landmark, but with a rhythm. It is dense, walkable, busy, and somehow still human in scale. There are small shops, cafes, restaurants, cinemas, courtyards, bicycles, prams, dogs, delivery vans, and people who look like they have very strong feelings about organic bread. The streets are rarely grand, but they are alive. You turn a corner and find a bookshop, a bakery, a small bar, a flower stand, a playground, an old facade, a new boutique, or just someone sitting outside with a coffee, watching the neighborhood perform itself. That is the charm of Ottensen. It feels urban without becoming anonymous. It has the energy of a city, but the proportions of a village. People meet in the street, shop on foot, argue about parking, buy vegetables, push strollers, block the pavement, and somehow all of it belongs to the same picture. It's not polished in the way a shopping district is polished. Ottensen still has edges, corners, leftovers, traces, odd little gaps. And that is part of why it works. It feels used, not just displayed. So before we ask where this place came from, it is worth simply noticing what it is now. One of Hamburg's most walkable, sociable, self-confident neighborhoods. Attractive not because it shows off, but because everyday life here is unusually easy to film. This is the kind of urban life that many cities want. Small scale, walkable, mixed, busy without being monstrous. The funny thing is, when a place actually achieves this, suddenly everyone wants a piece of it. So what is this space? I think to understand that, we have to turn a corner. In the 1800s, Ottensen wasn't a part of Hamburg. It was a town in its own right and very industrial at that. It even had its own railway system connecting all the industrial sites and businesses, and you can see the remains of that to this day. This street, Borselstraße, had two railway stations that served as the main hubs for that network. After Ottensen was incorporated into the town of Altena, and later the town of Altena was incorporated into the city of Hamburg, Ottensen kinda lost its industrial edge and became a residential neighborhood with cheap space for living and businesses. And cheap spaces allow for experimentation. So all sorts of projects popped up, like this place. A former ammunitions factory, the Fabrik, has served as a cultural hub now for the last 50 years. I've seen so many shows here, let me think. Nico Case, Bright Eyes, Calexico, Lamb Chop, Henry Rollins with a spoken word performance, The Scatolites, Rilo Kiley, dozens more I can't remember right now. That's the classic Ottensen move. A factory becomes culture. Which is wonderful. The problem is not that factories become culture. The problem is that culture often becomes the scouting party for rising rents. Industrial architecture used to mean work, noise, danger and conflict. Now it means exposed brick, soft lighting and a very good chance of paying €6 for a cappuccino. A neighborhood isn't just what it looks like, it's also who gets to stay when it becomes attractive. And there is good news. The building that once stood here contained one of the most popular bars of the district, the Aurel. The building was torn down and a new one is being constructed, but the Aurel will move back in again after it's completed. Also, the people who used to live in that building have been offered to move back in again when the new building is finished. And most of the new apartments in this building will be publicly funded for low-income residents. Today, rents in Ottensen are clearly above the Hamburg average. I guess that simply can't be avoided when a district becomes this desirable and popular. But efforts to keep it affordable for average or low incomes do exist. And look, of course it's popular. It's gorgeous. So in the end, Ottensen is a success story. One of a former working class industrial neighborhood that became beautiful and livable. This is clearly one of the most livable neighborhoods of Hamburg. There is also an initiative to reduce car traffic in Ottensen, and lots has been done, like converting former two-lane roads into one-way streets with wide bike lanes. All right. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel and see you around for the next one. Take care.